Live streaming. Happy Wednesday, hump day, everybody. How y'all doing? We are live. Hey, everybody. Now go ahead and shout us out here for a second. Just give me a split second here. Giving this little tweet out here. Don't mind me a second. I'm just posting on everything here. All the different platforms. There we go. You can't say I don't that I was not instructed on if I was live or not. Alright, let's go and see here. Wait for a few people to come on in. This is my typical Wednesday night, where hopefully we'll get some people coming on in. It's about 20 after 6, so I'm starting a little bit later than I normally would. And I'm hoping that being the case, we'll actually get some more people. Oh, I got one in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come one, come all. Maybe I'll throw a little video up while I'm at. Let me go ahead and add that real quick. That's easy to do. Let's see here. No, maybe not. Maybe I won't be adding one. Nope. I won't be adding it that way. That's okay. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for coming. Hoping to see some more people in here a little bit. I'm going to go get something to drink real quick. I just came online, and I'll be right back. I'm back. How you doing, Nicole? I figure I'll start up here in a few minutes. Do you have anything pressing that you wanted to talk about tonight? Oh, I had a busy day. I had some very stressful moments at work. I hadn't had power here all day. Finally got some power back. So I was out of power most of the morning. So, my last video that I talked about, that was a drop on Sunday, sometime. Sunday, I think it was late morning when I did it, when I dropped it on YouTube. It was the first installment of a series that I'm doing on snapping hip syndrome, in which I'm going to do over the next 3 or 4 weeks, kind of like a multiple programs based solely around that particular problem. So my next video, hopefully this next Sunday, when I drop it, is going to be on some treatment techniques that you can do at home for snapping hip syndrome. So we'll see how that works out. I'm eating some Thin Mints Oreos. Waiting for some people to come in. It's pretty quiet tonight. So, I'm going to be going to a course hopefully in June, a Saturday Sunday course, pending this whole social distancing and stuff like that that's going on. Hopefully they'll still have the course. They haven't canceled it yet, as far as I know. And we're going to talk about this little booger right here, your ball and socket, your collarbone, and your scapula, your shoulder blade. And different problems you can happen with this particular, what we call here is the shoulder girdle complex. And I'm going to hopefully maybe learn some newer techniques, as well as probably some of the newer research that's out on the shoulder over the last probably 3 to 5 years. I've looked at some of it lately. There's not much that's changed, at least in the physical therapy arena, in regards to this whole shoulder blade, collarbone, and ball and socket. Hi, Wild Style. Thanks for coming. You got your skeletons out. Yeah, I got my skeletons out of my closet. I haven't heard back from my good friend. He's got a full skeleton, head to toe, and I'm not sure he's using it anymore. So he was on my one of my last live streams over the weekend, And he hasn't texted me back yet whether he's going to sell it to me or not. I'm hoping to get that just because it'll kind of give me, just one other dimension, as well as it has a whole elbow, forearm, wrist, and hand he has with it, and I don't have that. Poor Scully here, he's kind of having an issue here. Scully's got his jaw half dislocated and his head falling off. Scully's been in a turmoil lately. Your skeletons are all out of your closet. We know everything now. Maybe. I don't know. You watch enough of my videos, you see how wacky crazy I am. So hopefully we'll get more. I'm normally a little bit busy around this time of the night. I'm surprised. I don't know. Maybe everybody's getting live stream fatigue or something. I've been pretty consistent on Wednesdays. Wednesdays right around this time. I'm not Alfred of skeletons. I'm not afraid of skeletons. Oh, that's probably what you're saying. I'm not afraid of skeletons. Yeah, well, our bodies are made of skeleton. We're, skeleton. A nice little tip, and maybe you would know this, maybe you don't, but our skeletal system within our lifetime completely regenerates 3 times. That's right. Your entire skeletal system regenerates throughout your entire lifetime 3 times. And so that's pretty amazing. Nothing lasts forever. I think our blood is, 24 days? I'd have to look that up. I think red blood cells, I think they regenerate or have to have new ones every 24 days. It's somewhere right around there. I could be a day or so off, but I'm pretty darn close. I didn't know that. That's right. Well, there's a lot of stuff in this crazy head of mine, and some of it I get out, and some of it kind of sticks in there, and I can't remember it. But yeah, a lot of little tidbits, a lot of statistics, a lot of stats. My son just broke his arm, only got cast off. Oh, yes. Now, did he break it at the forearm, or did he break it at the wrist, or did he break it at the elbow? Because if he broke it at his mid-shaft of his forearm, it won't be too bad. But if he broke it at his elbow, that's tough to get the elbow completely straight again. As well as if he broke it at his wrist, it's tough to get full wrist bend or flexion or extension, we call it, back. His forearm. So he got lucky. I guess if you call it lucky. I don't have it here, but essentially, if you look at the forearm is 2 bones. All right, your ulna and your radius. And your ulna is basically, the end of your ulna bone here is basically the elbow. Kind of a hook on the end of it. That runs all the way down. And then your radius is on the, depending on which side, but it's on the outside of the body. And the radius bone rotates over the ulna. And so when you break that forearm part, that's tough to get back, because that rotation and that full opening are what we call supination, palm up, or pronation, palm down. So that's tough to get back. A lot of times they have to do what we call some mobilizations on the radial head, which is really uncomfortable even when you don't have a problem, but to get that moving again. I got 4 in the house. I had bad back neck pain as a vegan plant-based. No more pain on meat again. Interesting. I know with vegan, I don't know, I'm not a registered dietitian. I can just tell you just from the tidbits that I've read over the years. I know if you're a true, vegan, that you have to be careful because some proteins you don't get, and you have to mix certain beans and foods together to get the proper protein that you easily get with meat. And so, yeah, you have to be careful. Otherwise, you start losing some types of minerals and proteins that you naturally get from meat that you're not getting if you're just strict vegan. So you gotta be careful with that. They're called brittle vegans for a reason. Yeah, yeah, or very lethargic, very tired. Joe Rogan, I don't know if you know him. He's a comedian / actor / he's got a podcast, and he did a comedy skit, one of his skits on Netflix, one of the newer ones that I watched, and it was about this lady who got on his channel, and it was, I don't know, needless to say, she wasn't very nice. And so he went to her channel and followed her, and he talked about vegan cats and how people are vegan and they're feeding their cats just like lettuce and stuff. It was a fun, I can't do it justice, but it was a very funny skit on vegan cats. I am Joe Rogan follower. He is on my channel. Yeah, he's funny. I love him. He's got millions of subscribers. Sometimes I'll comment. I don't know who's commenting back. Whether it's probably not Joe, but it's probably one of his, lackeys or someone that's saying that he's Joe Rogan that works for him. But every once in a while I'll get because I give a nice healthy comment and I'll get a comment back, saying thank you or whatever. And it's not just a spit out comment from YouTube. It was actually a human that wrote it in. So that's kind of cool every once in a while. I got 6 in the house. Thumbs up done. Oh, Cubs Den is in the house. As she says, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I don't have the wonderful accent that Miss Cubs Den has, but she's in the morning. I usually listen to her as I'm eating my oatmeal in the morning. My oatmeal with blueberries and raisins. Keeps my cholesterol low. Tastes like slime, but I eat it because it's healthy. But I love her. She's awesome. She's got this almost Mary Poppins kind of voice to her. That's all I think about when I hear her talk is, she sounds like Mary Poppins. Yeah, you wouldn't want to feed your kids vegan. No, your kids will be malnourished. No, there's a reason why we have these things called teeth. Oh yes, you show them, Scully. Show them, Scully. See these things? These things, teethers. I guess you could say omnivore, carnivore. I do like my fish and my whatever, so I'm a meat eater. I don't eat a lot of steak, but I do like chicken and I like fish. And I want to say my best friend, Emilio, he is doing just fine today. Well, I'm so glad for Emilio. Yay for Emilio. If you guys want to connect, this is a connecting live stream like all my live streams are. If you haven't connected, Wild Style is awesome. The Filipino wife in the house. Yep, Filipino wife in the USA. Hi, Joe. Good evening. Hello, everyone. Poor Miss Wild Style is going to lose her teeth soon, and she's going to have to take Scully's teeth. Or if you didn't realize it, George Washington, he actually had wooden teeth back then. So, it must have been obviously dentures, but the dentures were made out of wood. I never did find out what kind of wood that was, but that must have been weird. I guess if you still wanted to chew, but not like having teeth nowadays. Red meat is very essential. Yeah. And he is doing good today already. Fight, though, his cancers twice in a row. Well, our prayers go out to him, and hopefully, with modern medicine and everything else. But cancer's tough. Those mutated cells, essentially that's what a cancer is just a mutated cell that your immune system, your white blood cells, did not find and destroy. And it just goes bonkers and starts messing everything up. And depending on where it is, means that part of the tissue, whether it's an organ cell tissue or a regular skin cell tissue, doesn't function anymore, and it can start to mess up the body very much. Oh, Wild Style says, I gotta go to work now. Thank you, sweetheart. Well, thank you for coming, Wild Style. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And I was there next to him. Oh. Bye, my lockdown over. Free again. What about you? No, our lockdown's not over. My state, which is in North Carolina, which is part of the United States, we're doing it slowly. I think they're going to do it in a 3-series section where they open up some and then see 2 or 3 weeks and see how bad the infection rate is, and then go from there. So I was going to talk about the shoulder blade a little bit. If anybody has any questions about any joint, I got all of them here except for the forearm, wrist, and hand. But I have my own wrist and hand that I can probably show you. You can go ahead and throw them out. I'm going to talk about the shoulder blade. Go ahead and connect a little bit if you want to. That would be awesome. Are you able to work Saturday at all? What state? Yeah, I can work any day of the week. I'm a physical therapist, so I'm an essential worker. Though they have flexed my hours a little bit, where I'm not working as many hours as I used to, just because the census is low. Hospitalization is, in regards to surgeries and stuff, is lower. So my census as for my patient caseload is lower. So obviously they don't need me as much. In what state? Oh, I work in North Carolina. I've lived in multiple states, but I currently live here. So, all right. So everything's crackers in here. So let's go ahead and get started here. I always talk about this as essentially, I call this the shoulder. When people think about the shoulder, they really just think about this thing, or this part up here, or the ball and socket. But in reality, as clinicians, we think about the shoulder in these three joints: your collarbone or your clavicle, your shoulder blade or scapula, and your shoulder, or actually your glenohumeral, and your ball and socket. And so these three bones have to work in unison with one another to bring your hand over your head. And he got sick on Friday. Oh, I'm sorry. So when we look at that, your hand comes over your head, your collarbone has to rotate outwards, and your shoulder blade rotates on your ribs. So we're going to have it like this. So your shoulder blade literally rotates as your hand comes over your head. The ball drops down. This ball drops down as your hand comes up. I feel like a sneeze coming on. And so think of it like a seesaw. As the hand comes up, the ball drops down. You never want this, which means the ball and the shoulder and the hand are all moving as one. And you don't want that because your shoulder blade has to separate from the ball and socket for your hand to come over your head correctly. And your clavicle has to rotate outwards. So that's how these mechanics kind of work. Most times what happens with people is their shoulder blade becomes weak over time, whether it's they stop exercising and doing certain activities, or muscle tone as we get older. The tone's not there like it was earlier in life, and so we end up getting an injury because the shoulder blade is basically our foundation for this whole thing, and we call our arm. And without that good foundation, the rest of this does not work correctly. And so you end up getting a lot of rotator cuff involvement, which are the four muscles that make up your shoulder blade, are the cuff muscles, C-U-F-F, not cup, C-U-P. And so if we flip you around and we look at where these muscles sit, you have a muscle that sits on the bottom, the one that sits on the top. Turn you around to the front, you have one that sits on the inside. And you have another one that sits right around in this area and then attaches to the shoulder in this direction. These 4 muscles on your shoulder blade are the main rotator cuff muscles that rotate your shoulder out and rotate your shoulder in. That's what those 4 muscles do. And when any of them are damaged, whether it's a tendon inflamed, or a tendon is torn, or a bursa is inflamed, or you have a spur or a calcium deposit within the ball and socket, then you're going to have problems because your shoulder's not going to rotate out enough and you're not going to get your hand over your head without having a lot of pain. Got 4 in the house, or I did have 4 in the house at one point. Let's go ahead and reset this and see where I'm at, because a lot of times for me with my phone, if I don't reset this, I don't get a good clear case of who's actually in the house, which is kind of odd from my point of view, but I still got 4. If you could, shout me out, share me out, that would be good. I shared myself out earlier with different platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and also YouTube. And so, anyways, so when we bring our hand over the head, if your shoulder blade's not sitting correctly on the back of your ribs and nice and firm and stable, then this whole thing starts to get disorganized. It doesn't move correctly because it essentially just sits like this. Now what that means is that the only supporting structure to your spine this whole piece has is right here at this part, which is your sternum. This is essentially a floating joint. This all floats, and if there's any issue with the tendons, a bursa, something inflamed, something giving you pain, it throws the mechanics of this whole thing off. All the muscles start to get irritated, and you can't get your hand over your head. Or if you do get over your head, you have a lot of pain trying to do that. Oh, got 3 in the house, lost someone. Now these muscles are really, really thin. Let's see if I got a tissue paper here. I do have a tissue paper. Muscles are tissue paper. Learned this back in school a long time ago. Easy to manipulate. Because really a muscle is really a flat, thin piece of tissue. It's got striations and everything else in it. But when people show you the muscle like that, the reality is it's still a linear, flat piece of tissue. It's not big and bulky like that. There's other muscles that are pushing around to make it its perfect shape that we are accustomed to seeing. But the main one sitting on top, main rotator cuff that gets torn all the time on people that have shoulder pain or rotator cuff problems, is called your supraspinatus. So it sits right on the top here. The muscle belly sits right inside. It goes over this entire structure in between here and attaches out to the front here, out to the side here. Now you have another huge muscle over the top of this called your deltoid. Okay, and that's your anterior, middle, and posterior deltoid muscle. So when people say deltoid, there's actually 3 muscle bellies that make up your deltoid. But that sits over the top of this muscle structure, this tendon does, as well as on the back side here where the neck is, you have your upper trap muscle. Oh, hi! How you doing? Thumbs up done. Oh, thank you so much for coming by. I'm talking about the shoulder right now, but if you have any other questions about any other body part, I'd love to hopefully take a crack at it and see if I can help you. Thanks for coming by. Give me a shout out if you would. That would be awesome too. We have some other people in here. If you'd like to connect, go right ahead. I know Cubs was in here earlier. Cubs Den, she's a huge live streamer. Her live streams are in the morning. And Wild Style Vlogs in here earlier too. They kind of stepped out for a little bit. But anyways, with this muscle belly here, it can get irritated, and this is the one that gets torn the most. Now the other ones can get torn with it, but classically, if you're going to tear one of the rotator cuff muscles, it'll be this one on the top, the supraspinatus one. And so, like I was saying earlier, the upper trap muscle, the upper trapezium muscle, which is also 3 different muscles. You have an upper, middle, and lower trapezius muscle that basically spans your entire back for most of it anyways. And so the one I'm talking about is the upper one that runs it to your neck. and it's kind of an L shape. Comes down kind of like the letter L, and it envelops over the top of this muscle belly. So unless you push down and deep into your upper neck here, you're not going to get to this muscle. But this muscle, the supraspinatus muscle, can get a trigger point in your bed, and you get this kink. And a lot of people think it's your upper trap. In reality, it's the deep rotator cuff muscle, your supraspinatus, that's actually giving you the active trigger point, or you know, what do you want to call it, Charlie horse. And your neck is actually coming from the supraspinatus muscle, not from your neck or upper trap muscle. Host, I have pain in my lower back. So what will you do? Well, Cubs Den is still here. Love you, girl. Thank you so much for sticking around. Well, let's talk about your back for a second. So I got probably 5 or 6 videos that specifically in my playlist on the back. It goes over stenosis. It goes over disc problems. It goes over, there's another video that talks about muscle imbalance that can cause a lot of your back problems. It goes over postural deficits. A separate video of that may be causing your back problems. Now, the first thing that we talk about when we talk about the back, and we know that this is coming from the spine, that this is a mechanical problem, that it's not coming from your kidneys, or it's not coming from some sort of medication, or some sort of, neurological problem causing your back pain. If this is just good old-fashioned mechanical back pain, then the first thing we need to make sure that you don't have is any nerve symptoms down your legs, any kind of sciatica or referral pain that's going down into your butt cheek or down the back or the front of your leg into your calf or your foot. So that's the first thing. So are you having any of those kinds of symptoms? Also, knee pain, maybe from sitting and working on the PC too long. That's possible. This knee, boy, this thing can give you a booger if you're not careful. We'll talk about that in a second. So there's a lot, I call this the runny nose syndrome when it comes to back pain. A lot of things, and I'm telling you, a lot of things can cause back pain. And that's the reason why the United States would be the U.S. spends the most. It used to be the common cold. It might be the COVID now. It used to be the common cold. It used to cost the most in the United States, healthcare each year. Now it's actually lower back pain costs the most each year from the United States. But like I said before, a lot of things can cause this back pain. It could be coming from the joint on the side, the facet joint. It could be coming from the joints getting irritated because you're sitting too long, like what I call the letter C. And what I mean by that is if you are a letter C when you sit all the time, that puts a lot of stress on the lower disc as well as the joint, and that can cause a lot of issues. Get the muscles irritated, gets the joint irritated, and starts giving you pain. You could have, classically, what that's caused from is just, you can then say you have muscle imbalance. Some muscles are tight, some muscles are long, some muscles are weak, and some muscles are strong, or because of the positions that you're in too much, and that could be causing some of your issues in your lower back. So there's a couple different philosophies that you can take in regards to treating lower back pain in the physical therapy realm. You could take it like I've been and how I've showed on my videos, or you could take it the route by doing specific stretches and specific strengthening exercises. You can help reduce your pain. The drastic difference between my approach and that approach is initially trying to reduce the pain, trying to figure out what's causing the pain to continue with the person. And that's my different videos in the back section playlist. That's the approach that they take. If this is a disc nerve problem, I have a video specifically on that. If it's a muscle problem, cramping, spasms, I have a video specifically on that. if you're having stenosis, which is a narrowing of the canal from arthritis, I have a video specifically on that. And so all giving you back pain, but 3 different reasons why you're actually having that back pain. And the approach is different. So you can't do the same thing, kind of like a paintbrush, and expect to get the same result if your problem is from 3 different reasons. Maybe host, because every time I do my live streams, I use to sit down like a letter C. Yes, my dear. You want to stay away from sitting like the letter C, because look at it this way. So this essentially is take one of these joints out and kind of blow it up, and this is what you have. So you have this, you have the spinal cord, the nerves that come off of the spinal cord. You have the disc between the bones of the spine, and then obviously you have a bone above and below. So kind of think of it like that. All right. And so if you're sitting a lot, what happens is the disc itself starts to squish down, and that can put a lot of stress on the joint on the back side where the nerve is at, starts to swell up and get inflamed. Or you can get the whole classic, if I can do it correctly, boom. You know, that's really the disc being pushed out onto the nerve and getting irritated that way. That you would clearly see. You'd have a shot of pain down your leg and you'd be like, woo! You'd be doing one of those things. So you're probably just having overstressed facet joint, or the muscles themselves are being over elongated or overstretched. So think of the muscles, think of this tissue paper like the muscles. If you're in a nice straight position, they're nice and short, but if you're sitting like the letter C, you're going to cause a lot of stress at all those muscles that line your spine, and you can aggravate them and they can get inflamed. And so that probably is what's happening. And so I always tell people, magic towel, all right, yours you probably need to be about twice the size. And just because I made this very small, put some tape around it to maintain its shape, and then just stick it down at your tailbone so you stay up nice and tall. And what that will do is will keep you from rocking and opening up that lower joint by putting the towel roll like this. And so it braces you so you can't move from that lower part of your spine, and lo and behold, a lot of your pain will go away. Something as simple as a towel roll can fix a lot of your problems. I know, it's just once you figure out, you know, the pain, the generation, where the pain's being generated, from, and then you can go ahead and just, okay, this is how we're gonna continue to be able to do what I want to do, but do it where you're not having any pain. In this case, use a towel roll. Don't use a pillow, because a pillow will flatten out. You want a towel roll that's firm enough that it's going to maintain its shape, but not too firm that it hurts. So towel roll is probably the best thing you can do. Need to towel up, that's right. Thank you, Miss Cub. I thought for sure I'd have more people. This is a typical Wednesday that I do my live streams, and I usually have a lot more people. I don't know, that's what it says on my channel art. And I've been doing live streams on Wednesdays for at least 5 or 6 weeks, probably 5 or 6 weeks now, definitely 6 weeks. And it comes and goes. I'm probably fighting with, who knows, Game of Thrones or whatever else is on TV. Yes, a towel roll. Take probably a beach towel or a bathroom towel that's fairly firm. So basically, all I did is just this is not big enough for you, because you're going to be sitting there for a long time. You want something a little bit thicker. So you just take a beach towel, all right, or a regular bathroom towel that you shower with, kind of fold it in half, and then literally roll it on up. You want to make sure that this thing's probably that big around, and then put tape around it so it maintains its shape, and then literally stick it down at the tailbone. And you see how all of a sudden I popped up? That's literally because it's holding me in this nice position. And what you're doing there is you're actually sitting on your butt bones. All right, instead of sitting on your sacrum, your tailbones. And so you're sitting upright like this versus rocking down and sitting like that. And you can see how much stress you're putting at your lower spine because of how you're sitting. So if you rotate up and you sit like this, all of a sudden you can see how everything is not elongated and stretched out anymore, and you're actually sitting like I am. I'm sitting on my butt bones. These are called your ischial tuberosities. Okay, these are your ischiums. Not ischial tuberosity. Yeah, it's been a long day, folks. And so these are what you're going to sit on, and that's what you should be sitting on. It takes all the stress off the lower spine. That's literally, I see that so much in my chronic back pain patients, where they sit in recliner chairs, they sit in soft sofas and stuff like that, where they're constantly sitting like the letter C, and they're just putting way too much stress on the disc that's worn because they're older, the joint that's worn, it's got some arthritis in the joint. You know, this joint that I'm talking about, where the bones meet each other, where my fingers are at on either side, they have cartilage and they wear over the years. The disc starts to flatten out. It's not as tall as it used to be. And the thing gets inflamed much quicker than it used to. So when you don't sit correctly, and you sit all these weird positions, yeah, you can start to irritate this thing. And it can take 3 or 4 days for that inflammatory process to calm down once you start doing things correctly. It's not like a light switch. You know, it didn't turn on like a light switch. You didn't have your symptoms immediately when you were sitting incorrectly. It took time. And so it's going to take time for that inflammatory process to calm back down. Brown Eye Truckers in the house. BET, you came rolling in. She got her tractor trailer. Bert, Bert. BET. Welcome, 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 as Miss Cubden says. Or what's G-Kick say? Stick and stay, or whatever he says. If you're blue, you're gray. If you're gray, stay all day, or something like that. I don't know. That guy's got some phrases. 6 in the house. Oh my Lord, I have 6 in the house. Connect, connect, connect if you like to. If you guys, most of you guys probably know each other. You know, it's getting to be that way. I've been doing YouTube now since late November of last year. And so I'm obviously, compared to a lot of you guys, I'm new to the game. But even me doing this for, what, 6 months now? Yeah. The end of this month will be 6 months, will be half a year. You know, you start to, you know, all the different communities that I'm involved in, and between, you know, Australia and the Philippines and the U.S. and Germany and Italy and all these other, you start to really see the same creators over and over again. And I kind of wonder, like, maybe I'm like, okay, have I seen everything? It's like, you know, have I gotten to the end of the internet yet? So when you talk about the disc and the joint, you have to be mindful that if you do change just that simple little thing, and if it's really bothering you a lot, ice is the most important thing. What you want to do is put ice in a pillowcase. And so what I tell people also to do is to make an ice pack. If you don't have one that you bought from the store, you use a Ziploc freezer bag, rubbing alcohol, or what we say, that's rubbing alcohol, but technically it's called isopropanol, and water, and you mix the two, a 1-to-1 ratio, and you put it in the freezer, and it comes out to be an ice pack. So you get yourself an ice pack that way. You can homemade make it. You can YouTube it or whatever, and I'm sure there's a million people that have shown you how to make an ice pack with the ice pack recipe. And you put it in a pillowcase so that it's not completely on your skin. And you go ahead and you can either line your side or line your stomach with a pillow underneath your belly and put that ice on your back for probably 15 or 20 minutes 3 or 4 times a day. That'll help reduce and mitigate a lot of the lower back pain, as well as if you're getting any referred pain from a muscle or a joint, that's putting pain somewhere else, down your butt cheek or in your leg. that ice will help reduce that speed of that nerve and start to eliminate some of that referral pain that you're having. When you're having a lot of back pain, heat is not your best option at that point. You should ice it instead. Only 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason why you want to only do 15 to 20 minutes is because there's a thing called vasodilation and vasoconstriction. And what that really means is that your blood vessels open. Dilate means to open, and constrict means to close. And so initially when your body feels cold, all right, your blood vessels are going to constrict and bring blood flow back to the abdominal area where all your vital organs are. And that also slows down the nerve pulses and the muscle spasms around that area. But within 15 to 20 minutes of staying cold like that, the body's going to start to react and start to vasodilate and bring more blood back to that area that you're trying to stay cold. So at that point, you're fighting with your body, and so that's when you should stop. 15 to 20 minutes is long enough. Give yourself a half an hour to an hour, and then you can rinse and repeat that. That's where that 15 to 20 minute time comes in and why it's there in the first place. It's not some obscure, someone said 15, 20 minutes and that's the way we're going to say it the rest of the, for everybody. There's a physiological reason why we do 15 to 20 minutes when it comes to ice. The same way with a stretch. A lot of people, if you see any yoga out there, I subscribe to a yoga person today, that's why I'm thinking of it. But any of my stretches on my video that I talk about, or anybody else's video, the reason why they say 30 seconds to a minute is because the muscle tissue itself, it can lengthen to its maximal amount at about 1 minute. And that's it. It's at its length. It's at its epigee, or however you want to describe it. It's not going to stretch anymore. I mean, it can, but then it tears, all right? We don't want to tear. Tear is bad, all right? And so that's the reason why if you can sustain a stretch for a minute, you're good. But a lot of people kind of baby step it, do 30-second hold and then rest and then repeat 2 or 3 times to really get that amount of stretch out of that tissue that's possible. So there's reasons why we have these numbers out there. People never tell you till you come to one of my live streams with good old Scully, and we kind of tell you why these numbers exist in the first place. All right, there's physiological, science-based reason why we have these seconds and minutes that we tell people in the first place. It's an elastic limit. That's right. In school, we go over filaments and monolimits and all this other stuff that we describe an actual muscle fiber with. That was all gross anatomy. I forgot some of it. I'd have to go back and read it over to remember every little bit of it. But we talk about the structure of the muscle tissue itself and what it's made up of. And then at the cellular level, we talk about, these myosins and actins, where the chemicals actually occur for the muscle to contract in the first place. Because that's all done chemically for the muscle to lengthen and shorten. That's all done by chemicals. And so there's a lot of chemistry with physical therapy. So any healthcare profession that's a doctorate degree or even probably bachelor's degree probably had a lot of that stuff too, I would suspect. Understanding the ways does help. Thanks, Doc. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, because you just hear all these numbers out there and you hear it for years and you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's what it is. That's all I've ever heard. And so there must be a reason for it. Well, that's the reason for it. Oh, I got Nikki in the house. Nikki in the house, Nikki in the house, Nikki in the house. If you want to know how to make your hair and you want to braid it and you want to comb it, Scully, you should hear this. All right? You go ahead and go to Nikki's house. Nikki's out there in her house. She's outside. The last 3 or 4 videos that I've watched, the last one today I think I saw earlier, or might have been this morning. I don't know, my power went out today, and so I was using a lot of I didn't have Wi-Fi because my power was out, so I used a lot of my own data. That's right. I love you guys so much. I use my own data. Anyway, she did a whole thing on braiding and combing, and she does all that. Scully needs a braid. Yeah. Scully needs to become animatronic. So when I get monetized, I've met myself as a goal this. When I get monetized, which is going to be a little while, I think I only have like 650 hours or something like that. I'm not even quite at 1,000 watch hours yet, and I know you need 4,000 watch hours. So I know when I get monetized, I'm going to go ahead. My thing is I'm going to make Scully animatronic. So he's going to be doing talking. He's going to have colored eyes. He's going to have all types of articulating movement. So once I get monetized, that's probably what I'll do with Scully. It'll kind of be our ta-da! But that's going to be a while. I think I've been trying to do 3 live streams a week because I don't want to make my channel completely live streams. I still like doing the shows. Live streams are easier. I mean, it takes me 2.5 days to make one of those shows that you saw that I dropped on Sunday. That 8-minute video took 3 days to make. And it's funny, I get a lot more views from my live streams than I do for my videos right now. And I don't understand it. I've been using TubeBuddy a lot, and I usually do really well. I guess we'll see. So a lot of my videos, usually they start to pick up steam probably about 3 or 4 weeks. For some reason, for my content, I get to that 3 or 4 week mark, and it starts to take off. I mean, most of my decent ones are probably 200 and 300. I think I have 1 or 2 videos that are over 1,000 views. Excuse me, but anyways, that's besides the point. Hey, Cubs Den, that's right. Cubs Den came in tonight. I mean, this is a special occasion. I think I've had Cubs Den in one of my other videos. She's a busy woman. Host, if you have time tonight, you can also visit me in my live stream. What time is your live stream? How long is it before your live stream? Is it a couple hours or 3 hours? And so that is the back. Hopefully I gave you some answers about your back a little bit. I go in a lot more detail in those 3 or 4 videos that I have in my playlist about the lumbar spine and all the treatments that you can do at home to help reduce that, whether I talk about massage techniques, taping techniques, a TENS unit, electrical unit, stretching and strengthening exercises, as well as different positions you need to put yourself in to reduce your pain. I mean, for me to do another back video, I could probably dice it up, make it look good and stuff like that, but the content really is there already. You know, I think I probably have 73 videos on combination of a lot of the body joints. I don't have a lot on elbow, wrist, and hand at all yet. And I probably will later this summer try and dive in that a little bit. Nettie Greer's in the house. Hello, host. Hi, everyone. All right, well, what time is it currently there in the Philippines? You're probably what? You're probably 12 hours ahead of me here. Yeah. What time is it currently there right now? That way I have a reference. Right now it's 7:10 in the evening. I'm on the Eastern time zone in the United States. Nettie Greer's in the house. If you'd like to connect, go right ahead. Connect. If they'd like to see your channel, it would be great. I had Miss Cubs Den here, and she wanted to talk about the knee, so I want to talk about the knee a few minutes if she's still here. If she's not, that's okay too. Now it's 7 a.m. in the morning here. Okay. So we're 12 hours. Yeah, you're 12 hours ahead of me. So it's Thursday morning where you're at. It's excuse me. It's Wednesday 7 a.m. p.m. here, 7 p.m. Wednesday. Let me get my words correct. So for me to do that, it would be 10 a.m. So I'll have to see where I'm at work tomorrow. I'll try and get in. It depends if I have a little break or not. That's me 10 a.m. in the morning at work. Oh, Cubs Den still here. Wonderful. Too much walking at my job. So I did a live stream. I haven't done a lot on the knee. I've done a few that talks about like how to protect the knee. I did one video on that. Different things that you can do around your house to protect your knee and ways that you're not protecting your knee. I did a video on that. I did one on strengthening exercises of the knee joint. I did one on, I think, taping techniques using Leukotape to try and reduce the kneecap pain itself. The knee can be tricky if we don't look at the entire structure. And what I mean by that, you can literally have knee pain because you have foot alignment issues. If you have flat feet, okay, or what I call pancake feet, where you've lost the arch in your foot and your foot flattens down, when that happens in your foot, your knee is affected by that. And how is it affected by that? Is the sheer fact is that your knee will start to go inwards. And so as that knee goes inwards, it puts a lot of stress on the inside of the joint, as well as it starts to make, as you can see on my knee, the kneecap starts to fall outwards. As my knee goes in, as my knee goes out, my knee starts to fall inwards. So it goes the opposite. So your knee falls in, your kneecap goes out. That puts a lot of stress on your kneecap. There's cartilage on that kneecap. There's tendons all coming over this entire muscle into the knee joint area, as well as you have this nice thick ligament here called the patellar ligament, and you have the quad muscles, 4 muscles meaning quad in Latin, come down and make up the tendon here at the top of your kneecap, and that can get inflamed, as well as this part here, the ligament area. And so there's all kinds of taping techniques that I put out there. Nicole really wants to talk about her singing. She says she sings very well. Sing with them, sing for you. I'll just get out there and start singing myself. And so the taping technique I'm talking about, literally one of them just comes straight across. Some of them will call it a patellar strap. And you can get that really just comes across the top and across the back of the knee, and it kind of compresses against. It takes some of the stress off of that tendon and ligament area and reduces a lot of the stress, across the knee joint area. My playlist has a knee playlist, and you can look at some basically heel slides, some strengthening exercises. But I always say, if you seem to have pain getting out of your car or getting on off of some sort of ladder or something that's off of a higher elevation, then you got to be mindful that you need to change up every once in a while how you get on and off, because if you're repeating the movement in the same direction over and over again all the time, you can cause yourself a bursitis or tendonitis in the knee joint itself, because you're repetitively doing that same motion over and over again, and that's not going to help that knee joint either. No, you do the taping while sitting, or you can do the taping while lying down. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get the tape. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I got a snack while I was at it. So, this is a tape I got 8 in the house! Woo! 8 in the house! Oh my god! So this is the tape I'm talking about that I use a lot. This is called Luco tape or Meccano tape. I put a link in most of my, when I use this, I put the link in the comment section that you can go and click on it, where I found it's the cheapest. You can get a whole box of this for probably like $12 or $15. And I use it a lot in my different videos when I did for the shoulder and for the neck and for the knee and for the hip, the iliotibial band that I talked about. And so it comes in 2 pieces. You have the cover roll. This is kind of like the protective part, and this is kind of like saran wrap. You gotta watch out with it, because the sheer fact that if you roll it onto itself like saran wrap, you can't pull it back apart. It's a nightmare. So got 7 in the house. You do the taping, yes. Okay, thanks. Nice. Nicole says thumbs up. Miss Boulderma, she's got her YouTube. Oh, I got a love from Nicole. And so it comes like, you have to split it apart. Comes in 2 pieces like this. And so you have this white piece. And this is really just to protect the skin. You could just do the brown tape, which is what we're going to use next. But this actually protects the knee a little bit, or the skin itself. Now, I did this also for plantar fasciitis, which is pain in the bottom of the foot. I did a video on that. And you really don't need this white tape in the bottom of the foot, because the foot is tough enough and you're not going to get any skin breakdown or skin irritation. But you just lay this thing across the knee, across this area here, just nice and easy, just like that. All right, so essentially all I'm doing is putting a piece of tape, the cover roll, right across this part of the tendon and ligament area. And then you just take this nice thick tape. It's not quite duct tape, but it's very rigid and tough like duct tape. There's no give to it. It's not elastic like the other tape I use, which is called K-tape or Kinesio tape. And that comes in 100 different colors. Pink and red and blue. Oh, I had 8. I'm down to 4. Oh, man, they dropped out like rocks, man. No love. No love. All right, and so you're going to take that piece and literally lay it down and rub it in. And then you're going to nice firm pull right across that tendon. So now you got some stress off of that tendon and off of the knee joint. And so it takes the stress off of that area, especially if it's inflamed. And so when you stand and sit, it feels a little bit more supportive and less painful. So that's a simple taping technique that you can do for patellar tendonitis. Taking this off, usually you want to soak it, because this doesn't feel good on hair. Ow! Yep. I took some of my hair off my leg just for you folks. Just for Miss Cubs Den. I took my hair off my leg just for you. And so that is Luco tape, or also known as Meccano tape. And like I said, you can use that for a lot of different things. There's also these 3 tendons that get inflamed a lot on the inside that I've talked about in the past. And these 3 tendons kind of look like this, if you were to peel back the skin and look at them. And there's 3 muscles that run up around the hip and then come down and attach on this inside. And they can get inflamed, give you a tendonitis and a bursitis in this area. And it's not really the knee as much as it is those tendons on the inside of the knee. And that's called pes inserine or pes inserine, depending on where you come from in the world. But it's stated both ways. Tomato, tomato. And the reality is that taping technique works really good on that when you pull it. What did I do with that? When you pull in an upward direction, this taping technique works great for that. So when you would apply this tape, so that it was coming from down here and pulling up and unloading the muscles and tendons that go from up here down below the knee joint, because they sit right down in this area here, those 3 tendons. And so it'll take a lot of the pain away and unload those tendons that are really inflamed. But that's called pes inserine or pes inserine. 3 tendons, the sartorius, gracilis, and the semitendinosus are the 3 tendons that make that up. And needless to say, I've had a lot of patients over the years with that simple pain. And I do exactly what I just showed you guys here. You know, something that, you know, after I do the evaluation, which is, I don't know how much it is, $300-400, you know, I might do some ultrasound to that area to calm down the tendons, reduce the inflammation, instruct about icing. We might do some exercises, some heel slides and range of motion exercises, and then I'm going to do some taping. We might do some steroid, iontophoresis steroid kind of medication to this area to see if we can get it to calm down. But as if you don't have a foot problem or an ankle problem like flat foot, we look at maybe the muscles in the hip, because if your muscles in your hip are weak, that'll make your knee dive inwards. Anytime your knee dives inwards and compared to your alignment of your foot, so your kneecap should always stay in line with your foot. When you stand and sit, when you do stairs, when you squat, your knees should not come inwards when you're doing this stuff. Your knees should always stay on the outside where your toes are. If your knees tend to dive in, you're going to start having pain on the inside of the knee joint if you don't already. And a lot of times it's either a foot problem, foot alignment, or you got a lot of weakness in your hip, because your hip really controls where that knee goes when you're doing stairs, when you're squatting, lunges, curbs. All that stuff is really from the hip, even though you're having pain in the knee joint. Sunshine Cooper. Sunshine, my Sunshine Cooper's in the house. Holy cow. The sky is open up. The rain has fallen, and there's sunshine there. There she is. She's up there singing. She's been singing. She's on a singing cruise lately. She's singing with all these people that I've never heard of in my entire life. She gets out there and she just starts belting like she's Steve Perry. Does everybody know who Steve Perry is? No, no one knows who Steve Perry is. Oh, God. No, Club Den says she doesn't know who Steve Perry is. There was a famous music group in the 80s and 90s, and they called themselves, the group is called Journey. And the lead singer is Steve Perry, and the music group is called Journey. Now, there was a whole big scuffle with Steve Perry, apparently. From what I can get a gist of it, is he basically started to get a fat head, kind of like what happens with Scully sometimes on my shows. Scully starts to get condescending and nasty, and I had to put him in his place, like I had to last show. The last show, I had to put him in his place a little bit. He started getting a fat head. Well, apparently Steve Perry started getting a fat head, and he quit Journey. And then Journey was trying to find a singer for years, and they found a singer, I think, in the Philippines. Google should know Steve Perry. How are you, Love Cubs? Ned Berry says, at Sunshine Cooper. Yes, you're going to love Sunshine. She does live streams. She does shows. If you don't have Sunshine Cooper in Cubs Den, then you probably shouldn't be on YouTube. That's literally the case. If you want to get any type of loyal subscribers or viewership, or whatever you want to call it, you gotta go to these channels. It's that simple. I mean, they're two of the bigger channels for small YouTubers, and you still get noticed. If you could start going to the TR show, good luck getting noticed. That guy's got 150, 200 people going off at once. They ain't seeing your stuff. I mean, it's just like, it looks like a credits scene on a movie. The names are flying by so fast, it's ridiculous. You don't know what's going on. So that's the basic knee joint with basic knee arthritis. And what you can probably do at home, pretty simple, and what might be causing, well, if you do have flat feet, you know, well, I probably should get over-the-counter orthotics that you can buy at Walmart or something like that and see if that would help. Or see a podiatrist, which is a foot doctor. If you're having knee pain and you have flat feet, it's like, yeah, oh, Joe said that my flat feet might be causing my knee pain. Maybe I should go to the doctor. So that might be the case. 7 in the house, 7 in the house, 7 in the house. Ooh, oops. All right, and so that's the knee. Anybody have any more questions on the knee? There's 100 more things I could go over with the knee. I could go over ligament injuries. I could go over meniscus tears. I could go over knee replacements, partial knee replacements. I got 5 in the house right now. People coming in and out like crazy. Well, you're welcome, Cubs Den. I glossed over the knee. Glossed. I didn't really do the knee that much. So if you have any other questions, go ahead and throw them out because there's a ton more. When I did my live stream on Monday, which was crickets, not a lot of people came to that. I figured I'd try and do one spontaneously, and then it didn't work out so well for me. So I think I'll stick to my Wednesdays. And I'll try and do one. You know, I did one Thursday, and then I did one Friday last week. Friday I had off. Obviously this Friday I don't have off, but I think I'll try and do a live stream sometime on Friday when I come home from work. Sunshine Cooper says she's still here. Thank you so much. But I think what's his name? That guy that took over for the lead singer of Journey. I always forget his name, but I think he's Filipino. You know his name, Sunshine? I can't remember his name. Oh, Safford Glow's in the house. Safford Glow's in the house. And so, anyways, I can't remember his name off the bat. I'm sure it'll hit me after the live stream. Isn't that right? Scully doesn't want to talk right now. So we talked about the knee a little bit. We talked about the disc a little bit for back pain. I started out initially talking about the shoulder blade before you guys all showed up. So maybe I'll go ahead and hit that a little bit here since there wasn't really anybody in here yet. Hi. Go ahead and connect if you'd like to, if you guys are all still here. And so if you have any questions on this part, this is your collarbone, your shoulder blade, and your ball and socket. This essentially is what we call your shoulder girdle complex. These 3 things have to move correctly for your hand to come over your head properly. The collarbone rotates as our hand comes over our head. That's right. This clavicle or collarbone is kind of like a strut on the car. It actually rotates and opens up outwards as your hand comes up. Your shoulder blade rotates on the back of your ribs. That's kind of our foundation. And the ball and socket move. And so the ball kind of rotates downwards as the hand comes over the head. And it's a floating joint, which means it really doesn't have any attachment except for at the collarbone here to the sternum. And so if there's any issue with any of the tendons or muscles that are inflamed or a tendonitis or something like that, it's going to throw the mechanics of your shoulder off, and you're going to start having pain when you try and raise your hand over your head or reach out behind your back all right, or behind you like that, it'll start to irritate those rotator cuff, and you end up getting a rotator cuff problem. If you like me, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the stream, give me a thumbs down. But at least give me some thumbs. Do you guys have any questions right now? Otherwise, I'm going to keep going with the shoulder blade. I initially shouted out at, of course, there goes my vocal cords. I initially shouted us out on YouTube. I posted there. I posted on Facebook, and I posted on Twitter. Don't encourage people to give thumbs down, Doc. Yeah, I know. I don't really get thumbs down very often. It's pretty rare that I do. Every once in a blue moon, but you know, at least they spent the time to think about whether they want to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. But hopefully, if they do give me a thumbs down, they give me a reason. They actually, hey, you know, I didn't like this part of it. So, because I like constructive criticism. If I can work on my craft, my YouTube live stream, YouTube video craft, that's what I want to do, because, you know, I'm going to keep doing different things that I always do with my videos, and hopefully the public likes it. And as you can see, if you looked at any of my recent videos, you can see over the last 2 or 3 months, I've changed a little bit of the type of style video I do, and all the little anecdotes and things that I have in my videos now. In case my last one I dropped on Sunday, that was about snapping hip syndrome and hip pain itself. And I'm doing that as my first actual series that I'm doing over the next 3 or 4 weeks on different types of treatments and stuff that you can do for snapping hip syndrome. So let's look at, ooh, Nettie, I'm cooking still here. Okay, thank you, Nettie Greer. I got 4 in the house. People giving, people going. And so I always try and use paper towels or tissues as muscles, because it's easy to manipulate and you get a kind of good idea of where it starts and where it finishes at. And so this main one that I talked about earlier that really gets torn on a lot of people, the main rotator cuff, the one that gives you pain down the side of your arm, like an achy tooth sensation, is called your supraspinatus. And that's really a muscle belly that sits on the top part of your shoulder and goes all the way over through all these ligaments and stuff and attaches to the front side of your shoulder here. And that can give you a lot of pain, like I said, down your arm, and can give you pain when you try and raise your arm up, or give you some pain kind of through this kind of degree, that 90 to 120 degree angle here, what we call the painful arc, can come from that part of the tendon and muscle that's inflamed or torn, as well as at the end it can get pinched because you have this part of the bone here can get pinched back in here as the head comes up and pinches against that tendon over your head. Or if you come across your body and you start to have pain, that tendon can pinch in the front here of this bone against the head. As the head comes across the body, it can pinch against those two pieces. And so that's an easy way to get what we call shoulder impingement. It's coming from that particular muscle and tendon that's getting pinched in there. And so we want to work on the stuff that I talked about in my shoulder playlist about extending your back up, using the towel roll at the mid part of your back so that your shoulder kind of sits back where your shoulder blade sits back where it's supposed to and not tilted forwards. When your shoulder is tilted forwards like this is, it closes down the space between where my finger's at, and it's easier to get that rotator cuff impinged and cause a lot of pain in your shoulder. Like when you're sleeping at night on that shoulder, or you wake up and you have some pain or achiness down your arm, that's because you've probably pinched that tendon that supraspinatus muscle tendon between those two bones. Oh, you're welcome, Cubs Den. I know you talked about, having to delete out different Blue Jackets and stuff like that because people were, you got people out there faking other people's accounts and stuff like that. If they want to try and fake my account, good luck. This stuff that you see in front of you is not cheap to do. This is very expensive stuff that you see that I demonstrate. These models are not cheap, as well as good luck with my impersonation. Now, I've got mine, I got passwords encrypted as well as I have the two steps. So they're going to have a hard time, if they want to hack my account, they're going to have a hard time doing it. I know the Familia, he got hacked. They had to start all over. All right, I have to always reset mine. Like on my phone, do you have to do that, Cubs Den? I have to reset mine because now it showed 7 watching, but when I reset it, it shows exactly who's watching, which right now I have 4. And so people coming in, yeah, I heard, yeah, that's so sad. Yeah, he started all over, which to me is like, but he did like live streams for like hours. He'd be sitting on his couch with his head thing on, and he'd be there cranking hours doing live streams. He had like 30. Last time I was watching one of his, he had like 32,000 subscribers. He had a lot of subscribers, and so I'm sure he'll get a bunch of them back. But I saved mine. I have see this thing down here? See this thing right here? I have a separate hard drive. I have a terabyte hard drive. That's right, terabyte. So if I lose all my stuff on YouTube, I got it all right here. I just re-download it again. This is way too much hard work and way too much time for some punk out there to delete our stuff and then, oh gosh, now what do we do with it? It's worth, if you can afford it, a couple $100 to get yourself 1 or 2 terabyte hard drives and just download your videos on those. Okay, Cub says that happens with phones sometimes. I'm still here. Thank you so much. Cub says that terabyte, you mean business. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I've got 6 months of work and almost 80 videos altogether. Yeah, at any time if YouTube becomes out of fashion and something else comes along, I can download all these videos onto there and start all over again somewhere else. Barring that, heaven forbid someone hacks my account, even though it'd be kind of hard, but I'm sure someone could do it if they wanted to, and I still have all my videos, so you should probably, if you can do it, I would say do that because it's a lot of work. That's gone up in smoke otherwise. All right, so I got 4 in the house, kind of people coming in and out. So back to the shoulder blade if you want to talk about this more. Lots of different surgeries that happen with the shoulder. One of the main ones that they do with the shoulder that I see a lot, and if heaven forbid you actually have to have some sort of what we call arthroscopic surgery, where they go in there and they use a scope and look and fix areas. And what they'll fix here is if they have to fix that tendon that I talked about that's on the end here that gets torn, because it's going to get torn between the tendon and the muscle junction. That's where it kind of starts to pull apart. And so they'll have to sew that. If it gets ripped off the bone and it's just the whole thing is retracted back and it's sitting back here, they're going to have to pull it all the way back through and anchor it back onto the bone. They can tear anything else, but this is the main one that I talked about that you tear or rupture. And what they'll do is they'll fix that, sew it back together, or anchor it back to the bone. They will also shave this part of the bone off. That's right, they'll shave that back because that muscle is underneath there, and we want to protect that as much as possible by giving it more space. That tendon needs more space to breathe. And the next steps that I'm going to talk about, it's really all they're doing is trying to give that tendon more space to breathe. And so, yeah, always good to have a backup one. Do you have it as well? Yes, I do. You're looking at it. This bone right here, it's called the acromion. All right, acromion. This bone right here is your clavicle or collarbone, technically called clavicle. These two bones make up your AC joint. AC, that's the one that people can separate a lot at the end here. It's the AC joint, especially if they fall on it hard or fall cross-arm or something like that. They can pull this ligament, you can sprain it, or God forbid you break something. But what they'll do is they'll shave that acromion piece. They might even cut back this clavicle because that muscle and tendon goes underneath that clavicle, that collarbone. They might cut this ligament that tendon comes down through, because you can pinch against the roof of that. They can shave underneath that acromion. And they can also take some of the bursa underneath there that are worn out or torn or inflamed. All right. They also might take out some synovial tissue too if that's inflamed. Called a synoviectomy, they'll call it. Underneath here, they're called this acromioplasty. Essentially, just shaving off part of the acromion. They'll call it a subacromial decompression, where they're shaving underneath the acromion. And they're called this a distal clavicle excision, or DCE, where they'll actually cut part of the clavicle off, and it's all to open up the space and reduce the re-injury of that rotator cuff tendon. 5 in the house, so that's what they'll do. That's kind of like the gold standard, like if you have a rotator cuff tear or a rupture that they have to fix or repair, they'll do those other little things around this joint area to really repair and give relief so that you don't re-injure or re-tear this once they fix the darn thing. There's another main one they'll do that happens a lot, is they'll have what's called a slap tear, and I did a video on that probably about 5 weeks ago or so. SLAP, SLAP, it's an acronym, stands for superior labrum anterior and posterior. And essentially what it is the labrum of the socket is what we're talking about. You have the ball, which is the head, and you have the socket where the ball rotates in and rolls around so that your arm goes up and around. And so that labrum essentially is what deepens the socket. Without that labrum, you really don't have a very deep socket. And so the ball is can go all over. So that labrum makes the socket deep. And so the ball has a lot of articulation, we call it, with it. And you can have a tear in that labrum. That your labrum naturally wears over time. You can naturally have tears that are no symptoms at all, which we call asymptomatic. Oh yeah, 6 in the house. Brown Eye Trucker, I was wondering, can you do a video where Scully is watching you educate us and make smart remarks like he does? I want to see his eyes and mouth move more. Man, that would be tough. Oh man. When I get the articulating animatronic Scully, I'll be able to do that. I would have to storyboard my entire live stream so when I clicked on Scully, it would make sense what he was saying in like what I do on my edited videos. I storyboard what I say, so when I edit Scully, it makes sense to the storyline of what I'm talking about. That would be darn near impossible unless I gave some sort of obscure statement and he's just back there gabbing all the time. Yeah. Otherwise, like the one that I'm talking about that I want to get, the animatronic, I can click a button and I can give out certain phrases that's programmed into the unit, and I'll be able to do that. But to try and do that live stream, yeah, that would be tough. Just loop a 30-second stare and then Sony commentary in between. And Sonya. Nicole says she's done eating dinner. Well, Nicole, as you can see, I'm eating here in the background. And I almost lost my food. Don't try this at home, kids. Don't eat with your mouth full and talk. It's a choking hazard. Fill in the commentary in between. Yeah, I guess I could do that. Man, that would be tough. I think I'm too lazy, BET, and I'm going to wait for this animatronic to take place. Now, I don't know if you were here yet. When I get monetized, which is probably going to be never, because I'm at, I don't know, I'm 650 some hours. It's 4,000 hours, so it's going to be quite a while. BET wants more interaction between myself and Scully. I could do this. What if I did this? If I made that, would that be cool? Woo! How's that look? There you go. What do you use to stream? I use OBS. Yep. I use OBS. I did use StreamYard, but StreamYard you have 20 hours per month, and I was too cheap. I mean, I'm already spending money on Adobe After Effects each month. I'm already spending money on Adobe Premiere. I'm already spending money on TubeBuddy. I'm already spending money on the Canvas that I use for my thumbnails and everything each month. So I'm already spending a lot. And I'm like, I don't want to spend another $20-some on live stream. So I got my OBS working correctly. And so, I mean, I can do everything. This is all OBS and it's all free. Oh, I got 6 in the house. Yeah, I could do that. I could loop it back and forth. Kind of like what I do with my video. But it would be video based. It wouldn't be interaction with me here. It would have to be on like we said in the past live streams. It would have to be a green screen above me. It wouldn't be this particular. Wouldn't be Scully, quote unquote, in the bones. Can't say in the flesh because he doesn't have any. But I'd have to say in the bones. Yeah, my thumbnails, I use canvas.com. Now then that's what I use for my live streams, thumbnails, is Canvas. What I do for my thumbnails for my shows that I drop on Sundays now, no, I make those myself. I use Adobe After Effects, and I use Adobe Premiere to make those. And I was listening to my playlist on my cell phone, though. Yeah, sometimes I try, you figure what it would be like, if you were to try and get to 4,000 hours yourself on your own live stream. I think at some point YouTube would figure it out that, hey, all the hours are coming from one person and that it's you. they probably, I don't know if, I mean, technically you can get watch hours just from yourself watching it, or, you know, playing it overnight or something like that, but it's only one person. I guess you would, I mean, 8 hour, I guess if you did it 24 hours in a day, you know, times, you know, let's do the math real quick. So if you were to do it yourself, right, and it's 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, so that's 168 hours. If you never stopped, if you just playlisted 24 hours a day and you did it for 7 days, you'd have 168 hours. And if you did that for, let's say, 30 days, you'd have 5,040 hours. So technically, you can do it yourself. You can get, I mean, what, you don't even need to do it a month, right? 168 hours in a week, and when you divide it by 4,000, so $4,000 divided by 168. Yeah, it'd take you 23.8 days. So, I mean, if you watched it if you had a playlist and you played it, looped it, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it'd take you 23 days to get your 4,000 watch hours. So, technically, yeah, you can do it yourself. I mean, I don't know if it's against YouTube algorithm. Do you guys know? Hey, Cubs Den, is it against YouTube's policies? I mean, I don't think it is. I'm not sure how good it's going to help you in the long run, because no one's going to watch the rest of your videos even when you become monetized. Got 7 in the house. If you love me, give me a thumbs up. I have 7 thumbs up right now. Oh, I had 7 in the house. I don't think it's a view. A view is a view irrespective of where it comes from. Okay. So yeah, so technically, yeah, I mean, I could loop this baby, because I mean, I could play this thing 24 hours a day and get my watch hours. Let me see. You know, let's see if I loop this baby. I'm going to do it for 1 week. Technically, I use it. So, anyway, so needless to say, I could probably get my watch hours in 12 months if I do it sometimes. I haven't really done it at all. And so, I've got some really good people out there. Ernie, Hatmaker, and Ed, he's really good at it. It's a husband and wife. They have 2 different channels, and they helped me out with some of my watch hours. I know she watched a bunch of my playlists. She was nice enough to do that. So I got a bunch of my watch hours from her. And then the rest of it, as far as I know, is just coming from people that's watched my videos and my playlist. So, and I've done that for probably 3 months. So in 3 months, I've gotten 650 hours or some hours like that, so hard to tell. My wallpaper, it has Houston Astros because I really like them. Nicole, Nicole, you come up with these obscure statements. I love it. And so, the second thing I was talking about, the second kind of surgery that I see a lot is the labral tear, or the slap tear that I talked about, SLAP, and that's where the top of the shoulder socket here gets torn. So if we look at the top of the shoulder, it's kind of a ring. You know, the labrum is basically a ring, and kind of look at it like that, and you have the ball inside here, and what happens is you get a tear on the top there, and The problem is you have this thing called the long head of the bicep. Bicep meaning two in Latin, two muscle belly. One attaches here and the other one attaches up inside and attaches inside the labrum. And so if you pull on something really hard, like opening a door or being pulled like that or something like that, you can pull that bicep and tear that labrum. And so when that happens, they're going to have, lo and behold, you end up having a rotator cuff involvement with it too. But if you acutely tear that labrum, you're probably going to have it either sewn or shaved back and fixed so that it doesn't tear anymore and that you can have your full motion back. What they'll do, 7 in the house, I missed my comment, look up 8, oh gosh. The more people who stay in your stream, the more hours you get. They won't count that kind of watch time, you loop your own playlist. Oh, okay. BET Brown Eye Trucker says, Cubs says that the more people who stay in your stream, the more hours you get. They won't count that kind of watch time, you looping your own playlist. So if you loop your own playlist, she says that hours don't count. Oh, wow. I guess my idea's out the door then. Cubs Den says, even being a playlist buddy helps. Yeah, I notice people that do live stream, like if I just started doing live streams every day, like Gore McTar does. He does live streams every day. Now he's kind of, what I've seen his channel the last probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, he's doing a lot more live streams than he does. He'll put someone else's video onto his stream, like an emotional, or whatever he wants to discuss as a topic, and he'll kind of go in and out of the actual video. He's kind of pulled back, kind of like, how much time he puts into his videos, and so he's put a lot more time on live streams. Lo and behold, he's got over 2,000 subscribers now. He's now monetized, and so it was much easier for him to get monetized when he just went more live streams. And so, but I mean, I want to do a little bit of both because I'm at my heart I'm more of an educator and trying to help people, and so I hope people take that to heart and they like the content, and hopefully at some point maybe I'll kind of get bigger. But right now, I'm only 6 months. I mean, reality is I might get to be a large channel or I might never. That's the reality. Cubs Den, that's not my. Cubs says it's not my experience. It's not documented anywhere as far as I have experienced. Brown Eye says, try to loop your own video and see. You may get watch time, but go back a day or so later and see if they took time away. Yeah. I've noticed that, and I remember one day I had like 629 hours, and then the next day I had 630, and then the next day after that, 3 days later, I had 629 hours again, and then 2 days later I had 651. So it was weird. It went down, it went up, it went down, and then it went up by 30 hours. So I don't know what the heck's going on. Yeah, Nicole, I hate cyberbullying too. Yeah. You know what you can do with that, Nicole? You can go ahead and just send them out. And you can, on your back part of your channel, you can go ahead and put in people that you don't want on your channel, and they won't even be able to come into your channel. Or you can time them out. So it's nice that YouTube has allowed that. Because, yeah, no one needs that nonsense. We work too hard at this stuff to get that kind of headaches coming at us. Losing time happens for a variety of reasons. You may have gone past 12 months calendar. YouTube has synced issues, etc. Yeah, well, for me, it's definitely not 12 months. My first 12 months won't happen until Thanksgiving of this year. It probably is, like you're saying, a synced issue or something like that, because to go to flip-flop 1 hour which way, then all of a sudden I got 30 some hours added to my account. That's drastic. I mean, that's really drastic. So there must have been some sort of synced issue, and they synced up, and all of a sudden I had 30 some extra hours. Which for me was like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was like, when I saw that, I was, big smile went on my face. Like, wow, I went from 629 to 651 hours. You know, that was cool. That put a big smile on my face. And so when we talk about that tear, what they'll have to do a lot of times, if you're an older person like me, they won't repair that. They won't repair that bicep that attaches to that labrum in there, because a lot of times that labrum is pulling that bicep, and now you have a bicep tear on top of a labral tear. What they'll do is they will cut that bicep right off that labrum, and sometimes they'll just let it go, and that will be it. That's called a bicepectomy. All right, essentially they cut that part of it. There's two muscles. There's plenty of other muscles within the forearm and bicep humerus area here that can compensate for what you've lost in that bicep cut. Or they might do a tenodesis, where they actually drill in to the bone here and they reattach that bicep tendon there, and so you no longer have another tear that can occur at the labrum. They shave or fix the labrum, and then they fix any type of tear that you might have had also with that labrum. One of the other rotator cuffs might have gotten torn or might not. And then they, lo and behold, that is the repair. Sew you back together, put the sling on with the big abductor wedge underneath your armpit or the big pillow, and you go to therapy a week or two after that. Because if you look at your monetization tab, your analytics, the numbers are really different. Yeah, they are. I'm really excited because I got my brand new laptop computer. Good for you. Laptops are expensive, especially depending on how much RAM, how much memory, the hard drive size. I mean, you could have a really expensive laptop. I've seen some of those gaming laptops go for jeepers, $3,000 and $4,000. I mean, they're really expensive, some of those laptops. Also, analytics on your phone and PC are different. It's crazy. Yeah, I noticed that that happens a lot for me. And I don't like that you can't see your monetization hours on there either. But like you said, they're different, you know, and so I usually go back to the desktop, and that's where I kind of say, like, okay, that's probably my best possible number or analytic at the time. Is not on my tablet or phone, it's probably on my desktop. Brown Eye Trucker, day of first upload only, when you can start accumulating hours. My account was created in 2018, but I wasn't active till third quarter of 2019. You cannot lose watch hours where you did not upload. Yeah. And it's a rolling 12 months. And so let's say in November, whatever day that is, when I hit my first 12 months and I don't have my 4,000 hours, that's a rolling 12 months. And so my last November is now my December, so instead of starting in November of 2019, now they're going to look at December of 2019 and January of 2021. So it's always a rolling 12 months. And they look at, you know, have they gotten their 4,000 watch hours within that rolling 12 months? That's the way I understand it. Is that true, Cubs Den? Yeah, it's a rolling 12 months. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to be hitting my 1 year in July, so I'll see what happens. Yeah, so for you, you'll hit that July, whatever it was, and you started your first upload that was public. Well, that was public, and that's what they're basing it on. If it was private, they're not counting that at all. So whatever was the first uploaded public watch hours, what they're going to count, and that'll be your first day, and then it's rolling from that part. So let's say July of this year, you don't have 4,000 watch hours. They're going to then go August of 2019, okay, to, right? No, yeah. It'll go August of 2019 to July, and then it'll go September of 2019 to August. So it always moves forwards from that. And that benefits us, really, because when you first start out on YouTube, you're not going to have a lot of watch hours anyways. My first 3 months on YouTube are really just understanding how the darn thing works and everything else that's involved, just the basics. And so I laugh at people that like, oh yeah, I started YouTube and I got my watch hours in the first 3 months. I'm like, all right, either A, you're a savant on YouTube and you have some sort of gifted God knowledge on how to use YouTube, or you've had another platform and you brought all those people on your YouTube platform. I mean, there's a couple different ways that it can happen, but that's usually not the case. Statistically, I think on YouTube, if you look at it, for people to get their 4,000 watch hours to become monetized, I think is like years. If you ever get it. To get 1,000 subscribers, they're talking about 22 months before you usually get even 1,000 subscribers. Is 22 months. That is kind of the statistic as you look at YouTube as a whole. That was so confusing. I woke up with a headache this morning and I took some meds. It's gone. Well, that's great. By looking at when you first upload and then 12 months from then, as Average Joe said, it's a rolling over. So every day you are on a new 12-month period. Right. Exactly. So it's always moving. They're always dropping where you were at the back end, and where you are in the front end is where they're adding. So at some point, you should see, hopefully if you're consistent, because that's the key, if you're consistent with your uploads and being on YouTube, you should gain more hours always going forwards than you did going back. I mean, you should, but if you don't, I'd say you were really heavy early in the beginning of YouTube and you dropped off and you came up heavy again, yeah, you're going to have a problem, because at some point you're going to have a drop off on those hours, and you might lose a lot of those watch hours that you were maybe really heavy on the back end. It's not how it's set up. It's set up as if you're a new YouTuber, you started out slow, you started to get more viewers and more watch hours, and as you keep on YouTube even more, you get a lot more growth. And so you should have more viewers, more subscribers, and more watch time. So you should get 13, 14, it might be 15 months before you really get your 4,000 watch hours. I wore the cast on my arm, and then after that, okay, that happens when I was living in California. All right. Nicole's on a totally different wavelength, so you'll have to forgive Nicole. She's talking about when she lived in California, how she hurt her arm. I got 6 in the house. All right, Scully. Let's unlighten your life. You know what I should do? Let's do this. This would be kind of cool. I should get like paper eyes. Put like colored paper eyes in there. And then do that. That would be kind of cool. BET says, in 1 year I have only gotten 112 hours. When was your first upload? A year ago? Yeah, she says July. So she's got the rest of May, all of June, and whenever she started in July. So she's got another 2.5 months to hit that first 12 month mark to see, can you be monetized? Now, you could be earlier. I mean, if I get my 4,000 watch hours in the next 2 months, then so be it. Yay for me, which I don't see that happening. But you can get your 4,000 watch hours in less than a year and be monetized. You don't have to wait 12 months. I was really animated with my arms there. It's funny when I go back and look at myself how animated I am. Oop, I want to tip that over. All right, folks. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. It's 8:15 my time. Golly knows what it is your time. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Scully always thanks you. And like we always say, we want you to look up and keep smiling. All right, folks. I'm going to do another live stream tomorrow. And I'm going to try and do another live stream Friday, depending on when I can. So be in Outlook for that. And like I always say, my next video is going to be on snapping hip in regards to treatment techniques that you can do at home. So, all right, folks, thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Oh, no problem. Cubs Den, it's always fun to see you. See you next time. Bye, guys.